All right, what if we open the episode up like this? We start in the city of Duckburg, you know, the one from DuckTales and stuff like that. And I'm happy to be in a park for some reason. I don't even realize where the heck I am. And out of nowhere, I just hear the words, "Bless me, bagpipes!" And Scrooge McDuck just races to the screen. And I'm like, what the hell, Scrooge McDuck, what are you doing here? And he's like, come with me, we gotta go on an adventure. And he drags me all the way through Duckburg, all the way through all the city stuff, and gets me to the docks, and puts me to ship. And we think I'm sailing just somewhere. And out of nowhere, whoosh, down comes a thunderquack. Inside of it is Darkwing Duck. And he's like, let's get dangerous. And ends up taking me to my next leg of the adventure. And we're flying through there, and launch pads all, getting all shaky and everything else. And it's getting all crazy. And we land into this little place of St. Canard. And we're almost about to do the adventure and kind of look for the treasure. Apparently there's a treasure in the sewers or some weird thing like that. And as we're going through there, we end up seeing all the different kind of Disney characters. We bump into Baloo from Tailspin, and somehow Goofy's there, and Max from Goof Troop. I don't know why they're there, but they're just all there having fun. And as we're walking through, we end up going this big giant crowd of people, and on stage is Powerline saying, "If you listen to each other's hearts," and starts singing, and it gets with power ballad, explosions are happening, and then out of nowhere a bright flash hits me. I shrink down to size, and I'm like, what the hell? Who the heck shrunk me? Why am I shrunk? Why am I small? And out of the corner of my eye, I see Gadget Hack Wrench. He's like, well, how else would you notice me? And then we start making out, and it gets all kind of weird and sexy, and I finally get to live out a cartoon fantasy of mine. So what do you think? Think that'll work, man?
I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work. We could just go straight to the intro.
Yeah, we could do that too.
I just can't seem to grow up. I said I just can't seem to grow up. But you know what? What? I don't think I want to. Follow me here. Yeah.
Welcome to Retro Fun Time. I'm your host, Roberto Villegas, and I am super excited because we're about to play some of my favorite platformer games from the Disney Afternoon-inspired video games. We are starting off awesome with, of course, the classic, the quintessential, so awesome that they're remaking it for the Xbox 360 and the PS3. That's right, people. We are playing DuckTales. Woo! Released in September of 1989 and adapted from the hit Disney cartoon, DuckTales follows the adventures of Scrooge McDuck as he travels across the globe in search of 5 treasures, facing the perils along the way. Produced by the key personnel responsible for the Mega Man series and overseen by Disney, the game was not only a faithful adaptation of the television show, but was a strong platformer. The game was a huge success, selling over 1.6 million copies worldwide. Okay, let's play some DuckTales. Let's see. As you can see here, the beginning of the game gives us kind of 5 different locations you can take Scrooge McDuck, and of course his 3 nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Ironically enough, they are the wrong color palette because of the limitations of the Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm not certain exactly what mapper or memory management controller this game uses, but there are certain kind of weird limitations on the background, and one day I'll get into the very, very in-depth limitations of the Nintendo that kind of made for interesting things and how people got around them and explained stuff. But in any case, we have different locations we can go to. So let's kind of bounce around a bit and play a couple of these locations. One of the better locations I tend to like is the Amazon. I dig the landscape. Now, Scrooge McDuck here has a couple of different things you can do as a character. One of the main mechanics is a sort of pogo jump. As you notice, it is the main attack. It is not only the main thing that does that, it is the main thing in terms of that allows you to not only handle enemies, but destroy blocks, open treasure chests, things like that. And it's actually accomplished by holding both the A and B button down, along with holding the down, the down directional pad. It's a very difficult thing. In fact, I remember as a kid when I first got this game, and I'll be honest, this is one of the few games I remember getting from Santa. Which I had to later learn my parents had bought it for me, which is very thankful for that. I think I might still have the cartridge somewhere. But when I played it the first time as a kid, I had no idea how to do this. And I was like dying left and right, getting hit until and oh god, that disappeared, that sucks. And so I had no idea what the heck I was doing in this game. It would take me at least a couple days to realize how to do it, even though the manual said how to do it. I think I ended up reading the manual, like, how the hell do you do this? But Scrooge also has a couple other things that can kind of help him out. He has a lot of different power-ups. For example, you just seen the invincibility thing, kind of in the shape of an M, Mighty Duck. But there's all sorts of other kind of stuff that Scrooge can do. For example, he can swing his cane like a golf club. That allows him to hit objects into other things, allows him to interact differently with the world and kind of destroy things. For example, with the blocks, lets you kind of destroy them, but you kind of do almost a hook kind of thing where they kind of float in the air a bit. Depending on what you hit, it also allows you to kind of reveal hidden items, for example. So Scrooge has a lot of weird, kind of interesting ways that he can interact with the game and interact with the world around him that make for a very, very unique gameplay mechanic that I haven't really seen replicated in anything else in a while. Of course, we are going to get DuckTales back again in remake by Way Forward, so that should be fun as hell to see. So you guys can play not only what the old stuff had, but you can actually play some new stuff in that, and we'll probably, whenever that game comes out, if I have the equipment to do so, we'll take a look at it together as maybe a special feature for the show, because it is a retro game, and it does kind of follow the same things. Interestingly enough, this is obviously based on the DuckTales property, as stated, and it's one of those weird games that, when it came out, it wasn't a smash hit. It was an instant hit. I mean, Capcom had been riding high. And the thing is, I don't even think DuckTales was necessarily that big when it came out. I mean, it was big, but I think DuckTales might have already ran its course to a certain degree. But the game still came out nonetheless, and I think it was this game that actually almost revitalized my love for DuckTales as a kid. But anyways, there's a couple of other interesting things. Kind of, obviously, I died right now, so that sucks. Let's try to actually get out of here really quick. We're actually going to go a little bit more time. We're actually going to die really quickly here, so we can kind of look at the other areas of this game. But obviously, you get something bad. One of the other things that's very much popular in this game, there's a lot of designers in the early days did this, and Capcom's no different, is the concept of the hidden room. For example, if we hit that thing over here and bounce over here, there's a little area here that has a whole bunch of stuff. And obviously, since you're Scrooge McDuck and your mission is to get all the treasures in the world, different things get revealed different ways, and there's all sorts of kind of crazy stuff hiding around. Apparently, I thought there's something there. We're going to ignore that treasure chest, though, because I think it's a power-up. But what's interesting about a lot of the games is there's at least there's a couple different ways to beat different levels, and there are different bosses at each point in the game. So it's an interesting kind of concept of even though it's a side-scroller, there are still kind of multiple paths to take and kind of different areas you can walk around that make it feel less like a side-scroller. At least in the traditional sense, there's not really especially in the Amazon, there's not one, like you can beat this level in a couple different ways. And it makes for an interesting kind of gameplay element, because you're not really... Oh, crap. I took one up. I probably should take that. And it definitely makes for an interesting kind of look at the game. I think it's what makes it stand the kind of test of time beyond just simply it being a licensed game. Because yes, it's a licensed game, and it's DuckTales, but I think because it has a sort of platformer about it, that it goes beyond just the typical thing. We're gonna play easy mode because it's easy, and plus I'm just showing the game, not really playing just to show you guys how how an expert plays this game or anything like that. But what's interesting about the game is that there's all sorts of different kind of ways that you can beat things and how things are set up. For example, let's go to the African mines really quick, because this is actually kind of an interesting story beat. As we're walking around, we're ready to play the level. We see Sludge, like, kill him, boom, boom. And one of our nephews is there. And it says, you need to get a key. It's in Transylvania. It actually kicks you back to the original level. And you actually have to walk around and kind of look for things around. Now you can in fact beat Transylvania and go through whatever, or if you're like me, you can find it. What's cool is that very few games required you to go back into another level. Once you beat the level, that was it. You didn't need to go back. Whereas in here, you had to get this key. And once you got the key, you're able to get kicked out there, so you can go to the African mines and open it up. There are all sorts of other kind of weird mechanics in the game that kind of helped out. For example, the fact that if you're in the Himalayas and you pogo in the snow, you sink for a bit. So it prevented you from pogoing, kind of required you to be smart about it when you had just, previously been pogoing around every part of the game. So it added, even in terms of its mechanic, added different difficulties accordingly, as a good platformer should. It's something that a good platformer is supposed to do, is use the mechanic of what it has and do its damnedest to build upon that mechanic in any way, shape, or form. That even something like Mario, where Mario had the different kind of suits that you could have in 3, and that was sort of they're even in Mario 1 power-ups, didn't really do as much as even Capcom did. And Capcom, especially with the Mega Man series, has proven to know what the hell they're doing when it comes to platformers, and it's almost kind of a lost art. But before we do end up leaving, I'm going to die one more time really quickly as best I can, because I am going to show you guys the probably the most iconic level in this game, and that being the moon. It is, in fact, one of the most iconic levels. I swear, it's the music for that soundtrack for the game itself, the moon music, I think has, I would love to figure out, I would want to venture the count of how many times I've heard that covered. Obviously, Brental Floss has done a version of it, added lyrics to it. A whole bunch of people on OC Remix have done copies of it, and they're all pretty awesome. But this was interesting. Again, this is a licensed game, but it doesn't feel like one. So let's go to the moon. The moon, listen to music. I might even get the invincibility. That's how awesome this music is. It's such a great thing. It's one of those weird things about this game, the moon itself, because because of thankfully emulation and things like that, we've got a chance to get a lot of the weird history of gaming down, to the point that we know some of the actual prototypes for games. One of the prototypes we have is the DuckTales game, thankfully. And I've since heard the soundtrack for the moon on the prototype, and it's a song you hear now, but it's way slower, and so it's interesting how things change in development. Even as something as you'd think would be pretty solid would be music, they changed that a bit too. So ultimately, DuckTales as a game, the first one, for sure had some really good platform mechanics, and definitely does a solid kind of look at a game, and obviously worked in a lot of the properties. Here at the moon, you have Gizmo Duck, you have Launchpad McQuack there, so you have all your familiar characters and things like that. We're going to take a quick break and actually play a little bit of DuckTales 2, the second version of this game. So while I set up here and get everything ready, why don't you guys watch this video explaining what the hell the Disney afternoon is? I know some of you kids are a bit younger and didn't have the experience of growing up around that same era, so let's explain what the hell that is. All right, let's set the stage. It's 1990. The Disney Channel is still a premium cable station. There's no Cartoon Network. Heck, Boomerang isn't even a concept. So where are kids supposed to get their fix of cartoons? On September 10th, 1990, Disney answered that question with the Disney Afternoon. At the launch, Disney had already created some syndicated cartoon series, such as Adventures of Gummy Bears, DuckTales, and Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. So Disney decided to incorporate those existing shows, along with the newly debuted series Tailspin, into the 2-hour block of programming. The Disney Afternoon block would be the birthplace for some of the better syndicated cartoon series of that era, from such shows as Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop, and Gargoyles. It was a great block of cartoon programming and was popular enough to last 7 seasons. Okay, we are back, and we are in DuckTales 2. This is the second game, and I know some of you older gamers didn't get a chance to play this because it came out during the later part of the Nintendo cycle of things in terms of the year it came out. So some of you guys might know. So they ended up obviously changed a lot of things. They first and foremost got rid of the computer menu, and they sort of made this interesting kind of map thing where you could see stuff and kind of go that. You're still doing treasure hunting, you're still kind of doing the same stuff. And there's a variety of different ways you can interact with us. Let's go to Niagara, because Niagara's a really good level to kind of show off some stuff as to what you can do differently in here. Sorry. You're still Scrooge McDuck. You still have the pogo mechanic, except this time you don't have to hold down. You can just sort of hit both of them, A and B. So they simplified it a ton in terms of the control scheme. I mean, obviously you can still hold down, but it doesn't require you to hold down. Whereas I think the other one did. I might have just held down by sort of response, so maybe they didn't change it. I'll have to check it again. I'll confirm that with a Professor Robert moment. What's interesting is they added a couple of different mechanics to Scrooge McDuck's pogo stick, or cane. For example, you can hook now on, as you can see here, as I've been doing repeatedly, you're hooked to. This allowed for a couple of other interesting sort of mechanics and using that in terms of hooking, because, for example, you can actually hook different objects now and pull them. So that added for a way different way of interacting with the world and how things are. You even had blocks you couldn't break. You actually, I'll show you what will happen with one of them if we can get to who we need to get to. Gyro's created a couple of rubber rafts for us, so Gyro's been helping us out. Gyro, of course, is one of the cooler characters in terms of. So we got that. We can actually hop here. Much like our original DuckTales, there are hidden areas, as of course, and things you take a while time to get to. There are also kind of, let me actually try that again, because there's actually puzzles and different objects you have to use kind of things. So it actually had to go. And much like the other one, it also included other characters in there. Webby Gale's right here, for example, though she doesn't have her pink bow. She's still involved in the game, and she's still there. So we have a couple other things. So we got to go down here. As you notice, we have different kind of objects we can interact with. We have the rafts and things like that. So it definitely adds interesting. But here's Gyro, and here's what I was going to show you, the interesting thing. So Gyro gives us his iron adapter. So it's cool. You actually have different items you have in terms of power-ups and items you can interact with that give Scrooge a little bit more power on certain things. For example, Gyro just gave us the ability to break things that we normally are not supposed to or be allowed to break, or that harder to break. For example, let's go back up to that area so I can show you what I mean. We'll go up here and I'll show you. You remember there was those blocks over here that we couldn't break easily? Well, now we can because of the upgrade Gyro gave us. And so it added for a couple of interesting ideas of having these upgrade system that sort of definitely added to the complexity of the game. And much like the last one, we also have other ways we can get around too. For example, the other route we could have gone is this way, where there's a bunch of treasures, things like that we could go. Or if we really didn't care about all that stuff there for some bizarre reason, which we're not going to right now, we can actually just sort of go the easy route and kind of go around and still do some stuff. We can also still get some treasure too. And if you notice, if we go down here, that is the area right there. And as we've already gotten these things, let's break them. Douche, douche, and douche, and douche. And there's also a slew of other upgrades that came in here in terms of stuff. For example, the ability to golf swing things that are harder as well, and do a couple other interesting things. So though Capcom got weird and got their stuff, they definitely did some stuff. So let's kind of take Launchpad out of here and leave this area so we can show you more. So obviously we got Launchpad took us, we don't get the treasure there. We'll come back to it later. Apparently, Flint Heart wants that treasure too. Maybe he'll grab it instead. Also, as you notice, there's an actual there's a item store, which is insane. Yeah, why not? And what's this treasure map? Look, it's a piece of a treasure map. Is this what you want looking for? No. So it actually has a whole bunch of things, different continues. You actually have 1-ups you can get, cakes. So you actually were able to get items too. So they added a ton in terms of the stuff, but they added up. But the big thing they did was they really expanded the world. For example, we have now Scotland. So we have interesting kind of things going on in this game, and I think the upgrade system definitely was something that added to. I mean, look at the world. It looks way more colorful and way more interesting. I don't know why there's spikes underneath there. I'm scared. I guess I can't reach that. There's probably a way to reach it. I just don't know how to. But they definitely did a worthwhile upgrade in terms of the game itself. So I think if you have yet to play any of the DuckTales series, more importantly, apparently I could have hopped that way. I just didn't see it. As you notice, I can't seem to get there because I don't have the ability to pogo. So there's a certain order of doing things that help. And yeah, obviously I could have gotten up there and gotten it, but so there's different kind of ways of solving each puzzle and doing things differently. That I think is interesting. And what's good is that a lot of the stuff that you can get on Extra Wise, you're not necessarily required to do it. Again, just it's interesting how they added a whole bunch of different you take a simple concept of Scrooge pogoing around in the first one and kind of swiping things up, and add the idea of Scrooge being able to hook around and do something new. Even the idea of expanding on an existing concept like that is cool. That again, very few developers tackle. And we got already our giant treasure thing here. So I think that might have go back this way. So, DuckTales 2 definitely is a well worth game and one of the better platformers. Okay, we are out of time for gameplay, so when we come back, I will give my final summation on the DuckTales series. So how does DuckTales 1 and 2 hold up to the test of time? I'd say they hold up pretty well. There are few times licensed games come out to be excellent games these days. Classic games aren't different. Just check out the Back to the Future series on the NES. But both DuckTales games are different. They take a solid game mechanic first and then make it into a property. Though the game can get really difficult at times, it's a great platformer. The controls are a bit tricky to get at first, but once you understand the mechanic of pogoing around on Scrooge's cane, it becomes second nature. DuckTales would not only be the start of some great Disney-related games by Capcom, but also the start of some great Disney Afternoon-related games. Next time, we'll take a look at Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers for the NES. Thanks for watching this week's show. Of course, you can catch all of our previous episodes and join in on the discussions at our website, CosmicRadio.TV/RetroFunTime. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at RetroFunTime. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you'd like to see in the future. We'll take any comments, any criticism that you can send our way. So that's all the time we have for today, so tune in next time. And remember, it ain't art unless we prove it to be. Take care.